She brought her incisive oratory back to the United Nations, a development champion who doesn't mince her words on climate, conflict and the rising cost of living.
Regrettably, there are too many people dying in conflict as a result of the economic crisis, and the hand that we must lend to life comes in the decisions that we must make to reform and to fight for peace, not to fight to sustain war, wherever it is found across this world. To fight for reform so that our citizens are not made victims of poverty because of the triple crisis of climate, of pandemic, and indeed now of the conflict that is leading to the inflationary pressures that leads, regrettably, to people taking circumstances into their own hands.
On the lack of reform of the United Nations Security Council.
Earlier this week, President Biden spoke of the need to reform the Security Council. We call and echo for that, but we go further because we believe that a Security Council that retains the power of veto in the hands of a few will still lead us to war, as we have seen this year. And therefore, the reform must not simply be in its composition, but also be in the removal of that veto.
As Mottley called for international financial institutions and the private sector to do more to support development towards ending poverty, which is goal 1 of the SDGs, while calling for a global compact on long-term financing.
But I want to simply say that if companies, multinational companies, have contributed to the global public risk or benefit from the solutions for global public goods, then they ought to contribute to their resolution through a percentage, a small percentage of their profits, funding the needs of countries, whether it is in the issue of climate, stability and resilience and adaptation, whether it is for the protection of biodiversity both on land and in our waters, whether it is for the protection of public health against the next pandemic.
Reflecting on some of her region's poorest countries, exacerbated by the actions of their most powerful neighbours.
Against the backdrop of exploitation that it has faced, we ask ourselves, to what end will the world stand up and be counted for the people of Haiti? Similarly, we ask for the same transparency to occur with respect to the removal of the blockade against the people of Cuba. This is the 30th year that the resolution has called for that removal of that blockade, but it has been there for 60 years. And I say simply to the people of the United States of America, do not be short-sighted in your goals. For in this hemisphere, peace and prosperity is the province of all. And yes, there may be problems on both sides, but there is nothing that justifies further hardship to people because of ideological differences. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Mottley will deliver the Nelson Mandela Lecture in eThekwini this November. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News.